Let me ask you something, and I need you to be honest with yourself. How many times have you talked yourself out of something great? A business idea, a promotion, a relationship, or whatever it is that you see as the next chapter in your life. And it didn't quite work out, or maybe you quit, but you didn't fail because you lacked talent. You didn't fail because the opportunity wasn't there. You failed because somewhere deep inside you, there was a voice saying, who were you to have that? You know, people like us don't do this kind of thing or have that kind of thing or go those kinds of places. And see, that voice, it has a name. And today we're going to expose it, challenge it, and dismantle it for good. Welcome to the Best Life Practices. My name is Carl Latting, and this episode, this one might be the one that changes your life. Now, we live in a world that has done a number on us. Like from the time we were children, the messages started loading into our minds. Some of them came from our parents, some of them from our neighborhoods, some from a system that just was never built with us in mind. And those messages became beliefs. And those beliefs became the invisible walls that we're living in right now. See, the psychological term for this is limiting belief. It's just a thought or an assumption that you hold about yourself, others, or the world that restricts you in some way, shape, or form. There was a Stoic philosopher, I want to say 300 BC, named Epictetus. And basically, he said it pretty plainly. He said that men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things. So, in other words, your reality is not being shaped by what happens to you. It's shaped by what you believe about what happens to you. Did you catch that? That means that you get laid off. And to one person, they're saying, I knew this was going to happen, or the economy is terrible, or whatever, negatively, where somebody else is saying, I was waiting on this, so this was going to be the sign for me to go into or to launch the business that I've been working on. See, that's the most powerful, empowering truth that you're going to hear today, because if your beliefs created your ceiling, then new beliefs can shatter them. So the first point that I want to raise here is that belief always comes before reality. There's a guy, I really like his work. His name was Neville Goddard, one of the most profound metaphysical teachers of the 20th century. And he taught something that's pretty radical and almost some people would call out there. But if you're a person of faith like I am, then you don't mind going into these places when it comes especially to imagination. And so he said that your imagination is not separate from reality. As a matter of fact, your imagination is the engine of reality. One person said it's the womb of reality, that whatever it is that we're experiencing now and what we call real is only the echo of the shout that originates in your imagination. Let that sink in. So that's saying that life then is a mirror and not a window. So some of us are looking at life as this is what's going on and this is what's real, when the fact of the matter is, if you believe like Neville Goddard or like myself, no. What I see in my life is the result of what's going on the inside of me. What I'm experiencing in my life is the result of what I believe most at the deepest level. So he wrote it like this. He said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and observe the route that your attention follows. So this isn't just spiritual language, because modern neuroscience agrees with this, that the brain, it cannot fully distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. And you know this from experience. You wake up from a dream and you're flailing like you were falling or drowning, and because the brain can't differentiate something so vivid and so emotionally captivating from what we like to call reality. So whatever it is that you're consistently holding in your mind, and when I say consistently holding, we're talking about the vision, the imagination, the thing that you keep repeating, the limiting belief, right? Then your brain, it begins to accept it as truth. And then it starts to organize your behavior around it. See, That's where this gets pernicious. That's when we can have a downward spiral around our limiting beliefs. Because if I believe that someone doesn't like me, then when I see them next time, I'm probably going to behave in a way that provokes what it is that I believe about them. You dig? So if you've been imagining yourself as somebody who doesn't deserve money or the relationship or the job or the house, the car, whatever it is that you want to have, then that is certainly going to be something that is going to cause your brain to start building a reality for you every single day in harmony with that belief. But the same principle also works in reverse. So assume the feeling, assume the identity, and then you'll be able to see things shift in the way that you want. What do we mean, assume the feeling? That means imagine that you got the job. And if you got the job, how would you feel today if you just came back from that interview and they said you're hired? How would your night go? You'd probably, uh, smile, have fun with the kids, maybe cook something cool or go out, celebrate, have a drink or some ice cream. But the relaxation and the feeling of accomplishment and the security that comes along with having the job, that is what you want to assume now, prior to it actually taking place. This is what we call faith. Right? So, point number two here is something called cognitive distortions. And these are basically just the lies that your mind tells you. There's a guy named Dr. David Burns, and in his landmark book called Feeling Good, he identified what he called cognitive distortions. And these are just patterns of automatic negative thinking that it kind of feels like is truth, but it's actually just a mental error. So let me name a few, especially the ones that are common that we see probably the most just in your daily interactions. How about mind reading is the first one. That's just when you assume that you know what everybody else thinks about you, such as they don't want me to succeed or they're going to judge me if I try. For me, I'm a teacher, speaker, and so there's been times that when I'm speaking and I can see somebody's face that's kind of turned up, I'm like, okay, they don't like what I'm saying. And then afterwards, that's the very person who comes to you and says, that was probably the best talk or lesson that I've heard in a long time. So that is to say that mind reading is an error. It's a cognitive distortion. How about overgeneralization? And this is one failure, that kind of can become a life sentence because we say stuff like, I tried and it didn't work. And so it never works for people like me or people who look like me or people who are my gender or my age or what have you. How about labeling? Which is when we collapse our entire identity into a single experience, such as it's not that I failed at the thing, but I am a failure. You see the difference there? These are problems, and people are doing this, and it's in the way of them being able to take the step forward necessary to actually enjoy this gift called life, especially if you live in a place like America where people, as we know, are coming here from all over the world. Why? Because to them, I can make it if I get there, right? How about emotional reasoning? This is when we start treating feelings as facts, right? I feel broke, so I must be broke, or I feel stuck, so I must be stuck. Feeling is very different from what is, right? And so it's up to you to control the feeling, and you do that by what you are thinking, okay? So really quickly, if you are feeling negatively, right? Or bad or not good, crummy, like the kids say, then it's probably because of what you are thinking at the time. Therefore, if you change your thinking to the opposite or some variation of the opposite, and then look for evidence of the new thinking, you will find that all of a sudden the feeling changes. Okay, there's a guy named Dr. Albert Ellis. He was the founder of rational emotive behavioral therapy. And he called these cognitive distortions irrational beliefs. And he was just very blunt about it. He said that we don't just have these beliefs, but we actively rehearse them and we argue for our limitations. right? And that's crazy, but we do it all the time. And my belief is the reason when we argue for our limitations, it's because it's easier. If I argue for it, I don't have to change because it's not my fault, it's their fault. If I argue for it, then I don't have to risk faith or putting myself out there and all the different uh, roadblocks and challenges that are going to crop up as we get from where we are to where we're going to be. And so it's a hard word, but it's also a freeing one because if the belief is yours, then so is the power to change it. And so, point number three here is the Stoic reframe. Okay. You are the author. There's probably the most famous Roman general is a guy named Marcus Aurelius. He was at one time the most powerful man in the Roman Empire. And every single morning, he wrote in his journal, reminding himself of what was true. He wrote, and I quote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." So, this is Stoic cognitive reframing, and it's identical in principle to what CBT practitioners teach today. And so, we challenge the thought, we test it against evidence, and then we replace it with more accurate and empowering beliefs. And so, the Stoics, they call this practice premeditatio, or disciplined mental rehearsing. So every morning, Marcus, he rehearsed the beliefs he chose to carry, not the ones that the world handed him, the ones he selected. So you have that very same power every single morning. So, what do you actually do with all this? Let me give you a three-step framework. And I'm just going to call this right now a belief reset, right? Just simple enough just to start today. Step number one, surface it. Write down the limiting belief exactly as it sounds in your head, not a cleaned up version, just the raw voice. It might say, hey, I'm not smart enough. I'm too old. People like me don't make it. Just get it on paper or your laptop, wherever it is that you do your documentation. Step two, challenge it. Ask yourself, is this absolutely true? What evidence do I actually have? See, according to Dr. Burns, the author of Feeling Good, he would call this a thought record. You're putting the belief on trial and you're looking for proof for it. And so most limiting beliefs, they collapse under cross-examination. Step number three, replace it. Craft a replacement belief, one that is both true and expansive, not toxic positivity, truth based possibility. Then speak it, write it, assume it, rehearse it until your nervous system accepts it as the new normal. This is not just a one time exercise, this is a daily practice. And so, the way Marcus Aurelius journaled every morning, that's the way Neville Goddard taught as well, nightly mental revision before sleep, because you're not at the mercy of your past programming. You are the author of what comes next. So now I want to speak to you something a little deeper for a moment, because some of us, we carry these limiting beliefs that are spiritually rooted. We've been told that we're cursed instead of chosen, that our struggle is a punishment instead of preparation, that's where we or where we come from. It disqualifies us from where God is trying to take us. And so, if you listen to me very clearly here, the Word of God says, Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5, that before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. And that's not a limiting belief. That is the founding truth of your identity. You were known before you were formed. You were sanctified before you had a single accomplishment to your name. So the limiting belief thing, it's a lie that's layered on top of who you actually are. And so today, we're just trying to peel back these things that have been stacked on top of us so that who we actually are, who we were born to be, can rise to the surface. Our wealth is just in us being able to be ourselves. But there's so many layers and identities that we have assumed and stacked on top of who we really are. It's going to take some time for us, who we really are, to rise to the surface. And so just keep in mind, you are not what the world told you that you were. You are not the neighborhood you grew up in. You're not the report card from third grade. You are not the rejection letter, the failed business, the broken relationship, or the voice that you hear in your head that says you've already missed your time window. Keep in mind, time is not the issue. The bigger issue is timing. And I believe right now that our timing is the result of when we can get in mental alignment with our thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and assumptions. Okay. So it could be that what we're looking for, the goal that we're trying to achieve, it's ready for us, but it's not about the time, it's about timing. It's waiting on us to get in that alignment. So you want to keep in mind that voice that is bringing to you the limiting beliefs, it's a liar, right? And today, you've been given the tools to cross examine it, challenge it, and replace it. The Stoics said, discipline your mind. Dr. Burns said, challenge your thoughts. Neville Goddard said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And I say, boss up, be unstoppable because you are. That's the truth. All of those people I just mentioned, they're saying the same thing just from different corners of history with one unified message that your mind is the most powerful tool that you have, and it's time that you use it on purpose. So here's your homework before our next episode. Write down those top 3 limiting beliefs, raw, do it unfiltered, put each one on trial. What's the actual evidence? Then write a replacement belief for each one. Read it every morning for the next 7 days. Then come back and tell me what shifted. Drop it in the comments. I'll read them. If this blessed you, share it with somebody who needs to hear it today. Subscribe so that you don't miss the next episode. And remember, you were made for your best life, not average, not almost, the best. My name is Carl Latting. I'll see you guys next time.